Hello and welcome everybody to the 12th round of the PSGL F5 Season 26 here, and we are here at the circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Canada, and for what is probably the most exciting division in PSGL, arguably at least. And yeah, it's so unpredictable as always, and I hope it's going to be the same today. After I missed last week's round, we luckily still had my co-commentator Jake taking the main commentator role for that week. And this week he is back with me once again. Hello, Jake.
Hello, yeah, I'm very excited to see what unfolds tonight. It's one of those tracks which always seems to deliver cracking racing and incidents, so I don't think we'll have any different here in F5 tonight.
Yeah, and it's looking quite overcast here while we are starting qualifying. And I think we should talk about the track first because Canada is certainly an interesting one. Favorite of many fans and drivers, obviously. And also, we have got a 13 car grid, which is not all too much, but around this track, 13 cars is still quite a big number because the track is not really wide, the track is quite tight, the walls are very close to the car in most corners and most chicanes. We've got a lot of tight chicanes as well, and with that, the chance or the risk of a crash is quite high, I'd say.
Definitely, it's one of those tracks which can really bite you if you push too hard, obviously. It's weird actually because a lot of drivers you would consider this to be a favourite among theirs, but I'm actually seeing a lot of mixed feelings about this track among the drivers here. There are some drivers that really don't enjoy this track on this game, which I find slightly odd because it just seems to be one of those old-fashioned tracks that people love to drive. But there's differing opinions here, and that could impact on some of the drivers.
It definitely could. We've got Jared in the chat. Hello and good evening, Jared. Good to see that we've got some people joining in. And yeah, I think this track is not lacking any overtaking opportunities. Obviously, we've got turn one as an opportunity, the DRS straight before that. And yeah, but it's quite tight and the corner is not that slowly. But I think the ideal point to make an overtake is this chicane right here with the famous wall of champions on the right hand side, which we can see here while we're on board with Gavin, our current championship leader. And also, if you're close enough and your driver ahead might have made a mistake in the previous chicane, then you could maybe go for a risky dive into the hairpin. But I think the ideal point, like I said, would be the last chicane.
Yeah, absolutely. The hairpin's a good opportunity, but I think you can almost get suckered in sometimes. You think they're broken a bit too early in front of you, and you dive in a bit too much yourself, and it costs you. It looks like Gavin's already aborted his first attempt, so obviously not happy there with how that one went. Interestingly, though, although we are lacking slightly in numbers tonight, the thing that I would say is that all the top six in the championship are here tonight, so we definitely got a lot of championship contenders here, and that should make for drama.
Yeah, and we've got the first little bit of drama already in qualifying here, as Schultz has made a mistake out of the first right-left chicane. We've got many left-right or right-left chicanes around here, and the walls are always very, very close to the car. And we saw that with Schultz, who just slightly made a mistake and immediately hit the wall. And with that, ruined his first attempt. Gavin crosses the line, but like you mentioned, he's aborted his lap. And yeah, I think turns 3 and 4 could be the biggest talking point in this race, as I think it's the chicane where you can make a mistake the easiest, because it's very quick, it's kind of blind, it's slightly downhill. You might cut the chicane a little bit, pick up a warning here and there. There's grass on the inside, which just unsettles the car completely if you touch it. And on the outside, you're so close to the wall. So do you reckon we'll see a few front wing parts flying through turns 3 and 4?
Almost definitely. I think it's such a difficult chicane to get right, and you've also got to be wary as well with track limits as well. I think we're going to see a number of issues with that over the course of this evening. And I think one thing I've noticed already, we mentioned obviously the overcast conditions. It was like a lot of drivers are struggling to heat up the tyres. Many drivers have aborted their lap and are trying to get heat into their tyres. So I wonder if it's a little bit cool out there on the track, and it's making it difficult for the drivers to get up to speed straight away.
It might be. Also, a good thing I want to mention, fair play to Cody's in that regard, that they've finally, after a couple of years that glitch has existed, fixed the rejoining and corner cutting glitch with that. So you are allowed to rejoin now if you lag out or if you leave the session for some reason. If the game crashes, you are now allowed to rejoin the session, which is good for the drivers because if something occurs which they are not at fault for, they can still rejoin and still get their race back in their own hands and still score some points. But yeah, then we've got another good amount of glitches that have come into this game with the most recent patch, and Nino goes on provisional pole. But nope, Lewis in the Mercedes, I saw some lap times he did earlier, and those look very competitive. And with that lap time, he is currently 0.4 of a second ahead of second placed Nino right now.
Yeah, it's a very competitive lap time. Just for context, the pole time in F7 was a 1:07.9, so you're looking at sort of mid-sevens being probably what you're going to expect to be the pole time here, so that's a good time from Lewis. And he's one of those 6 drivers that's still very much in the title fight. If he can string together a few good results here, that's all it's going to take, because it has to be said, although Gavin and Miku are in the pound seat at the moment, they haven't collected many points between them recently, and the opportunity's there for anyone who wants to grab it. If they can just string a couple of wins together, the title could be theirs.
It definitely could. And yeah, one driver we were talking about before the stream has started was Nino, as he's in a great shape at the moment. His worst result within the last 5 races was a 4th place, and that is brilliant. Or within the last 4 races, I think. I think it was a first place, a second place, a third place, and a 4th place.
Yeah, and he got, I think it was another 3rd place in the half-point race at Monza as well, so he scored brilliantly in the last 5 races. In fact, coming into us, once we came into Monza, which was 5 races ago, he'd actually not got any points at all, so he now finds himself 4th in the championship, out of nowhere, really. So if he can keep up this rate of scoring points, he's got a really good chance as well. And like I say, we saw him win at Vietnam, and we were a bit surprised, but since then, it just seems to have elevated him completely. It just shows results breed confidence.
Again, due to this crazy season here in F5, we could still see Nino up there in the championship fight. And also a talking point is the Williams team, as they are leading the constructors, and Gavin obviously leading the championship. But his teammate Ghosts, after his win last week, is back in business in terms of the championship fight. So do you reckon maybe the tension rises a little bit within the Williams team? Obviously we know those two guys do like each other. They're good friends, I think, and so far this season they have been working together. Especially I remember Suzuka, where Gavin let Ghosts through, allowing him to win the race in the end, taking his first race win of the season. And could that maybe change now if Gavin realizes, oh wait, my teammate could actually still challenge me for this championship?
Tonight's going to be absolutely massive. If Ghost gets a win, or even on the podium here tonight, Gavin's going to really realise that it's his teammates right now as well, and that's going to create maybe a bit of tension within the team. We've seen that in the past. Hamilton and Rosberg, who looked to be the best of friends at one point, became the biggest of rivals once the championship was on the line. So it's going to be interesting to see how that develops. And I have to say, Gavin, last time out of Bahrain, he looked like a driver who knew the pressure was on him. Obviously, Rattica, who left the league a couple of races ago, he was in the box seat for a lot of his season. Now Gavin is there. He hasn't looked that comfortable in that position. So I'm interested tonight if he can put those demons to rest and push on a little bit.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see for that. But we can see both Williams drivers not putting in lap times which are all too competitive right now. Out of 7 drivers who have set a lap so far, they are 5th and 6th, and both are. And our Ghost is just 1,000 less than a second behind Lewis, our current provisional pole sitter, and Gavin is 1.3 seconds behind him. So it seems like it could be a weekend, it could be a track where both Williams are struggling.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's going to be an interesting one. Certainly some drivers have not seemed very confident around here. We mentioned Miku earlier. He's not particularly seemed overly confident heading into this one. As I'm just on board with Larkin, he's got a lot of traffic to navigate on his lap. Thankfully, they all keep nicely out of the way. But yeah, you see a real difference in the lap times already. So drivers, for me, I think are struggling a little bit. And I wonder if I saw a lot of drivers go onto softs quite early on. I wonder if that points towards maybe we get a little bit of changeable weather in the race, because if that's the case, setup's going to be crucial here as well, because you have to wonder, do you sacrifice a bit of pace in qualifying if it's going to rain in the race?
As we can see, that Larkin comes across the line, improves on his lap, but stays behind Nino and Lewis, and has moved up to third though. So it's the second row of the grid currently for the McLaren driver. As we can see, many people are struggling right now to set their lap time. So what you've mentioned with the tyre temperatures, that could actually be a big thing here today. And yeah, Puma is about to set his first lap of the session with 7.5 minutes to go in this quali. So let's see where he can put his McLaren as he comes through the final chicane and invalidates. That is not a good sign. Let's see what it would have been. Would have been an 8.3, and that would have been around 4th place. So that would have been a pretty good lap time. Would have been very much needed for him at the moment. But Lewis has retired. Lewis has crashed. I saw him invalidating his lap before, and now he has crashed.
I didn't catch that, but yeah, Lewis has done a great lap, thankfully for him. Which, to be fair, might see him on the front row or two anyway, but he'll be gutted with that because it means now he can't improve, and he's just got to hope he stays on pole. I think I've seen so many drivers struggling with oversteer, so it definitely looks like they're struggling to get the tyres warmed up, and this is making what's already a difficult track to set lap times on due to the corner cutting issues that you have around here. It's making it even more tricky, and like I said, the lap times at the moment, other than Lewis, I don't think they're that competitive.
Not really. I'm a bit surprised by that actually, but let's see what Cortez can do. He invalidated and decided to not set his lap then. So maybe he wants that free tyre choice. Who knows? He's currently in 10th, and P8 and 9 have not set a lap so far. Matt is out on the mediums, also very interesting to see. Miku has gone out once again, but he is not on his lap yet. Neither is Ghost and neither is Kev. So we're currently still waiting for drivers to set their next couple of laps. But now, with around 6 minutes to go, it's looking like drivers are really struggling to set their the best lap time they can. We saw the same thing yesterday in F6 also. That drivers were struggling to set their laps, to get in good laps especially, because if you're on the limit, usually you're pushing the boundaries a bit too much here and there, and it's so easy to just track extend in so many of these corners, and that makes a good quali lap really difficult. So it was really crucial for Lewis to put in such a good lap at such an early stage in this quali session.
Definitely. We've got Miku also now out on the medium tyre, and I mean, if we're talking about tyre heating issues, I don't get a feeling the mediums aren't going to be any better for that. We'll see. There's already a small lock-up from Miku on his lap, but yeah, I'm a little bit surprised here. A lot of drivers seem very unsure at the moment, and it's kind of showing in the driving and the lap times we're seeing. We've currently got Larkin up in third, which is a little bit of a surprise, but he showed early on in his F7 season, before he moved up to F5, how good he was.
Oh! And that was a big snap of oversteer for Ghost. Saw that earlier on in the lap, he already had that kind of moment out of the chicane. So still, drivers are struggling for traction, and out of these quick chicanes, an aggressive setup might make it even worse, and that might be what Ghost is struggling with here at the moment.
Well, of course, he's looked so quick. Certainly last week he was superb in getting a win at Bahrain, but he doesn't look to be at ease at the moment with the car. Neither does his teammate, to be fair. Williams do have a healthy lead in the constructors, but they still can't afford to take their foot off the gas, especially, like you mentioned, now that both of them are very much in this championship fight. So, you know, we've got 4 minutes to go in the session, and at the moment, the front row of Lewis and Nino, they are still in the championship fight. They're outsiders, but as it stands at the moment, they would not mind that grid at all, and it would give them a great platform going into the race.
Yeah, Lewis, sadly we have to mention that he tends to bottle here and there We saw that a couple of times in this season, but obviously won a race. So we know he's got the pace. He just has to keep it together. But
Oh, and there's a
hopefully,
big crash for Kev. Oh, massive crash. At the chicane, I don't know what turns it is, but I think it was just where Lewis crashed actually, and he had a massive snap of oversteer and went into the wall. He's got front wing damage, but thankfully he's not destroyed his car because he has got time to return to the pits and put on another set of tyres. And it's funny you mentioned about Lewis actually, because he did have a very good opportunity, I thought at least, to win Bahrain last week, and he just couldn't make the move on Ghost at the end. Perhaps I don't think he was quite. He sort of went for half moves, which I think compromised him when there was genuine opportunities. So I would say he bottled the win there, but it was certainly an opportunity that went begging for him.
and he has to keep it together if he wants to stay in that championship fight. If he wants to get the results together, he needs to stay consistent, and consistency is key, as we all know. As we can see, Gavin locking up there to the chicane. Didn't quite hit the apex, luckily didn't invalidate and track extend with that. He's still up on his time though, but that did cost him a bit of time. We might see him going for another run right at the end if he has got enough fuel in the car. So maybe he's doing like a Hamilton tactic in Portugal last week, where Hamilton went for 2 runs with an in-lap in between.
That was a very nice final chicane. What will it do for him? It moves him up to 4th on a 108.4. It's still not what he would have been hoping for, because I think in the build to this he was doing 1 minute 7s. But even so, it's much better for him, and what he'll find most important at the moment is he's ahead of Miku, who, I've got to be honest, if he is going to do another lap, some of these drivers, they need to get a move on out of pits.
Yeah, they do. We've only got 1 minute and 45 left on the clock, and we've got some drivers out on the lap now as Ghost improves by 0.3 of a second in the first sector. That's a good start to that lap, so that might get him quite far up the grid now, as he's still currently 6th. And that is a nice run through this chicane right here. Very, very tight to the apex. Very tight line. That is looking good so far for the Williams drivers. 0.6 of a second up on his time. Could he challenge for pole, even though it didn't look like he had the pace at the start of this quali session? With 1 minute and 10 to go, he could be the man to beat Lewis for pole position right now. He won't be able to set another lap after this one, so this is his final run, coming into the final chicane now with the Wall of Champions being so close. But he invalidates.
No, that surely would have been good enough for at least the front row. Yeah, he would have been, that time was good enough for pole. He's thrown it away at the final chicane. So many drivers. That's a frustrating element of this track, is that possibly the corner where you can get most caught out is that last chicane. So you do all the hard work and it gets thrown away right at the last corner.
And also Nino has invalidated his lap. That's sad to see. Then we've got Cortez, who was also invalidated. Then obviously Ghosts, who won't be able to
and
set
Leon's
another
crashed.
lap. And
But Leon's
Hausman is on a lap. Hausman is on a lap. Puma is not. Let's see what Hausman can do. He currently hasn't set a lap, and he's just invalidated.
Yep.
Let's see.
Cortez's sessions are over as well.
And Larkin seems to be the only driver left who is able to set another lap time, or is Schultz actually able to set another one as well? I think he might be. Yes, he
Kev
is.
as well.
Oh, and Kev. Oh, yeah, you're right there. Kev as well, but Larkin is going to be the first one to finish his lap as he locks up and then invalidates. So easy to do that.
Kev is 2 temps up on his first sector. So this could be one to look out for.
And Schultz is invalidated. So Kev is the only driver left to set a time now, to set his final lap. Like you've mentioned, he's up by 2 tenths. What is the second sector going to be? It's 4 tenths once again. That will be the second row on the grid, the first row on the grid right now, and would be second if he stays like this. But maybe his teammate gives him a bit of slipstream. Yes, he does actually. That might help him quite a lot. If he doesn't invalidate through the last chicane, he might be able to put his car on the first row of the grid as he comes into the final chicane. That looked nice and tidy, and he comes across the line. What is it going to be? Will it be pole for Kev? No, it won't. 2 tenths of a second behind Lewis, who has got pole with his first lap of the session. And I don't think Miku is still on a lap. No, he is not.
He was improving, but he looks like he's backed out of it.
Seems like he wants to start on the mediums then, but that was a good lap right at the end from Kev there. But Lewis, even though he has crashed, he took pole by setting his banker, and that is a really, really strong sign for his race.
That's a completely bizarre qualifying session, really. We only had 8 of the 13 drivers do lap times. Miku's going to start on mediums in 8th, which again is a bit strange. We've got Ghost, who usually looks really quick, but struggled down in 7th. And then we got Kev, who, we're having 2 against him. He hasn't really shown that sort of pace this season, but that was a great lap he put in right at the end there to take second. But yeah, as you said, well done, Lewis. The pole position, despite crashing out with several minutes to go. And he'll be delighted with that. I probably wouldn't have expected to stay on pole, but going into the race, and of course, I think as well, he might get fresh tyres because of that if we do start in a dry. So,
I am not sure. I don't think you do because I crashed yesterday in quali on my final run and I did 2 laps on my tyres and my tyres were worn at the start of the race. So I think you don't get a fresh set. But it looks very, very sunny while we are loading in to this race now. And it seems like there is no rain on the horizon just yet, at least not for the start of this race. But who knows? Canada is obviously known for its famous 2011 race, the longest ever F1 race in F1 history, where Jenson Button came through the field multiple times and won the race on the last lap of the race. Hopefully, we can see something just at least anywhere near as exciting as that race was. I remember watching it as a kid, sitting at home till I don't know, it was very late for me, and yeah, that was a brilliant race. But I don't think F5 is going to disappoint, and especially around Canada, uh, it's it's very uh, it's very rare that Canada disappoints in terms of action.
obviously, we can't be too conclusive about the temperature on track, but you'd think it'd be warmer than what it was in qualifying just based on the sky ahead of us. And I think that'll please the drivers because it looked to me like all the drivers could have used a bit more grip out there in qualifying.
Yeah, I think they definitely could, and let's see what tyres those guys are starting on. So obviously the top 7 starting on the softs they used in quali. Then we've got Miko on his used set of medium. And then everyone behind him has gone for medium, so it seems like nobody is willing to go for the one stop from soft to hard or hard to soft. We might see a one stop from medium to hard, that could be possible, but soft hard usually is possible as well, especially if you start on fresh softs or fresh hards. But yeah, it seems like most drivers are deciding to go for either the 2 stop or the one stop from mediums to hards.
You've always got to be prepared to be flexible, especially around a track like this. Safety cars are extremely likely. And of course here the pit lane isn't very long, it's around 16 seconds in and out of pits, so a 2-stop strategy isn't the worst idea here, because it's easy to overtake, and like I say, you don't lose too much in the pits. So I think you've always got to be prepared for anything, and I think it does make sense to those drivers behind Miku to start on mediums. It gives them that flexibility. They can run a little bit longer into the first stint if needs be. And we've got some very quick drivers towards the back of the field as well, including Scholes, who we know is pretty famed for his race starts.
Yeah, but talking about race starts, the run down to turn 1 is not very long. It's very tight through the left and right combination of turns 1 and 2, so we might see a bit of contact there as Schultz's car seems to not be able to wait till the race start. His ghost car has already went up to second place, so or not second, but up to 7th, and Schultz has just left, which is
Yeah,
not good to see, but
it was lagging a
he is
lot
allowed
on
to
my
regroup.
screen, so I wonder if he's having some connection issues.
And we are waiting for the lights to come on now while we are about to start the 12th round of this championship here in F5 as the lights are coming on. We're up to 5 red lights. And we are off in Canada at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. It looks like Lewis has had a good start, but not good enough to prevent the run from Kev in second place. He's trying to go round the outside into turn one, but he can't make it. In the back row, we've got Larkin and Nino going side by side as well. Timing is glitched once again, but Nino has moved up into third place, or has defended his position, I should rather say. Then we've got Cortez moving up positions left, right, and centre as well. Good start from him. He's up to fifth place now, and it seems like in the background they've kept it clean, but a little look from Gavin down the inside of Cortez, but he doesn't make the move just yet. The field is very bunched up still, and maybe we can see a move from Matt now, as he's really close to the rear of Gavin, and he's too far away for now though.
Matt's made the most jumps off the start, up 2 places to 7th. That's a very nice start on those mediums. But Lewis managed to fend Kev off at the start, and his hope will be now is he can drive away a little bit here. He's kind of fended off the immediate threat, and he'll hope that he can start to pull away from Kev behind him, who probably isn't used to being so high up, if we're honest.
Yeah, Miku has just nearly hit the back of the car ahead, which was Ghost, and had to lock up, then go a bit wide, and that gave Houseman the opportunity to get past, but good defending there from Miku, as Lewis is still leading. He's got the gap up to 7/10 of a second. Even though Kev has had a good start, they were side by side. Kev took the lead for a brief moment there, but he couldn't make use of that good start into turn one, so he stayed behind in second place. And now the drivers have to settle down, get into a rhythm, because that is crucial around here. And Schultz has rejoined. There's only 2.5 seconds off the 12th place driver of Puma, so that is good to see.
Absolutely massive thank you to Co-Masters for fixing that issue, so Scholes' race is not over. Hopefully his connection has improved a little bit so he can not have that issue again. But Lewis starting to build the gap up front. He'll be looking to get out of that DRS range in a lap's time so that he's not under any threat. And Nino will be hoping he can make a move here, because as we know, he's had great form recently. And with the likes of Gavin and Miku a little bit further down, this is a good opportunity for the likes of Nino and Lewis to gain some serious points back here.
And it seems like Gavin is a bit struggling as he locked up into the hairpin, and Matt is still very close to the rear of Gavin, as Matt picked up a penalty and spins round. I had a great view on that, and it seems like Leon has crashed into him.
Oh, it's an almighty collision on the pitch straight. Matt spun coming out the final chicane, and drivers had nowhere to go, and Houseman got collected, and obviously Leon really suffered. He's out of the race. That's an absolute massive blow, and for Matt too, he'd had such a good start on those medium tyres, but that corner's caught many a famous name over the years, and looks like Matt's the latest one, but there were some real innocent victims in the aftermath of that.
Yeah, especially Leon, who was not able to get through that unscathed and had to retire from this race. The safety car in this situation was inevitable then. So, yeah, that's a shame to see. But I had a perfect camera angle on that, and I think he mounted the curve just that little bit too much, which unsettled the car, and then it was inevitable for Leon to hit him, because the amount of speed you carry through that corner is quite surreal, and yeah, you basically haven't got any reaction time. But we're on lap 3 now, so do you reckon we could see the first tactical decisions now with early pit stops?
Well, a couple of things to note. I think one driver who won't be happy if that's happened, of course. I don't think anyone will be happy if that's happened, but that really does limit Scholes' damage from disconnecting. In fact, we have got some drivers in the pits. Larkin, Cortez and Gavin have all pitted, as has Ghost. That means Ghost is going to have to queue behind his teammate. But yeah, some drivers already taking that opportunity to pit. I'm surprised. I think it's a little bit early, personally, but if you could take a free stop, why not? And Gavin's gone onto the hard tyre. Slightly surprising that, because the hard tyre is a little bit slow around here. So, and if there are heating issues again, it's going to take a while for those hard tyres to get warmed up, although he's not the only one. Ghost and Puma have done the very same thing as well.
Maybe they are going for the one stop, or they're just gambling on a safety car at a later stage in this race. But I think if you switch out to mediums now, you could make a double medium strategy work then. Just one more pit stop onto another set of mediums and you're good to go, I'd say. But soft medium, soft strat would be very difficult from now on then. But let's see how that works out. We've got the entire podium we've had when the safety car came out, stayed out and decided to stay on their first set of softs they've started on. So it seems like they decided that their tyres are still in good shape and they can still, uh, deliver the pace they need.
Oh, I don't know about you, but certainly for me anyway, if I go with Schulz, he's still lagging horribly.
He actually is, yeah. I can see it in the background.
That's going to be a real menace for drivers on the restart as well, so he seems to be having some connection issues tonight. While the safety car's out, if you don't mind, Felix, of course, this is a lot of PSGL announcements tonight. The Season 27 calendar has just been revealed, so if it's okay with you,
Go
I'll
ahead, go ahead.
go through it quickly. So we're beginning round one. Very traditional venue for round one is Australia. We're going to go to round two at Silverstone. We have round three at Spa. We go for Paul Ricard at round four. Monaco will play host to round five. That'll get a mixed reaction, I'm sure, as it always does. Round six at Monza. We've got Sochi, Singapore. We've got Austin, Mexico, Abu Dhabi, and we finish the season looking at March, round 12, which will be Suzuka.
I like that calendar, not gonna lie. A bit of tradition in there. We've got Monaco, which is not on the current calendar in PSGL, obviously. But yeah, like you've mentioned, it's going to be a mixed reaction from the drivers. And then a traditional start in Australia, like in real life F1 in the past couple of years or even decades. And then very traditional ending the season in Japan, which is quite cool, I think. I like that idea. I mean, we obviously all remember the times of Alan Prost and Ayrton Senna or Michael Schumacher winning his title in Japan, his first ever with Ferrari. I think that's I like that calendar. I gotta say, I'm excited for that one. Some tracks in there I'm not a huge fan of, like Paul Ricard or Russia, but still some good tracks in there.
Definitely, and if you're also wondering, the next season will begin on the first week of December.
What? Miku has just went onto the grass. I think his controller disconnected, and now Lewis has seen that and has went. Miku,
That's bizarre.
that is very bizarre indeed. So Miku has just went straight on and went onto the grass on the main straight. I'm not going to stay on Schultz as the camera is glitching due to his lag. But yeah, Miku, I think his wheel or his controller might have disconnected. So he went onto the grass and lost so much time. I mean, look at the gap between him and Nino now, 2.3. Lewis has seen that and decided to go. So Lewis has made a good decision with that one.
And he might need to get with the stewards after the race as well, because he got a 5-second penalty for ignoring yellow flag, Miku did, which I assume is when Schulz went past him and then let him back through.
Oh, and there goes Schultz down the inside of Miku now, and Schultz breaks himself, goes wide, and there's a huge crash once again, and Matt is involved once again as he hits the rear of Schultz. This time he was not head forward at all, and Schultz is causing huge mayhem as he lags out once again. That is not good to see. We've seen many front wing parts flying in that chicane, and Schultz has gone wide, then sat on the racing line after his mistake, and many drivers have hit the back of him then. And Gavin is really close to Matt now.
Yeah, it might be best with his lag if he doesn't rejoin again, I think, because it's a bit undrivable for those around him, I think.
Very unlucky for Larkin. Look at that. P12 now. Dead last. Has to pit once again. And same for Matt after he made the mistake to cause the first safety car. Now he was not at fault at all. And gotta say, fair play to Kev. Didn't expect that. He had a row of or a string of very bad results, I gotta say, and he'll probably admit that himself, but it seems like he's found his way back and has got back into the rhythm, and his pace is really good.
Yeah, he's looking pretty solid at the moment. Lewis isn't just driving away from him, he's staying pretty close. Nino's not all over the back of him either, for good measure. And what's going to be interesting now is we've got drivers on various strategies, you know, those at the front who haven't pitted yet. And then we got 2 Williams cars on hard tyres. You know, despite all the chaos that's happened, if Gavin and Ghost have got away without damage, it doesn't actually work out too badly for them, really.
Not really. And Lewis has already picked up a penalty.
Oh, and we've got Ghost down the inside of his teammate Gavin, going into the final chicane, and Gavin didn't fight that off too hard. I wonder if That was a decision Gavin made there to let his teammate go in this stage of the race, maybe thinking he's got a little bit more pace at the moment and just try and stick to the coattails of his teammate and see what happens from there. But I wouldn't say he fought that one too hard.
Interesting enough to see that they are still working together. So it seems like Gavin has not really seen his teammate as a big enough threat so far, at least. Not yet, but I think if Gold scores another good result today, I think Gavin has to wake up a little bit and realise that he should not try and help his teammate all too much to catch back up to him in the championship.
No, definitely not. You know, we're coming into the business end of the season now, just 2 more races to go after this, and he absolutely cannot afford to let Ghost get another 5-6 points on him here, because that all of a sudden makes things very interesting going to Austin next week.
And
as we see Cortez, Cortez is about to make a pretty simple move on Miku with the DRS. That was pretty simple in the end and got the move done before he gets to the final chicane. So nice move from Cortez that, and Miku drops a place down to 5th. Obviously Cortez is on new medium tyres. At the moment we've got Puma.
Really close to Gavin. Look at that. Puma's going for a move into turn 1 now. Down the inside he goes. That's going to be tight. They make contact. He gets pushed out wide, Gavin does. And now there's Houseman coming out of nowhere saying thank you very much. Trying to go down the inside of Puma now. Backs out though. Smart decision. And Puma tried it. And Gavin seems to not have the pace on those hards to keep those guys behind. But he was successful for another lap.
Yeah, good defending in the end from Gavin rather, keeping the drivers behind him there, and almost I think putting Puma under pressure from Houseman behind him. I mean, he had to take his attention off the Williams just momentarily, but it looks like, I don't know if Kev's made a mistake somewhere or just had a slow lap, but Nino's now in a bit of a position to attack him for P2.
Yeah, Nino is, and I think did you get a bit confused there when that fastest lap of Matt popped up?
Yeah, I saw the fastest lap and that name got into my head as Nino and Lewis both pit. I was a bit dicey there with Nino pitting and Kev not doing. But Lewis and Nino taking the opportunity to pit, and we'll see what tyres they go on to.
It's the mediums for Lewis, and it is going to be the mediums for Nino. So both on the same strat, it looks like. They both get the undercut on Kev. So if Nino puts in a strong out lap now, and Kev's in lap is not incredible, he will get him, I think. And yeah, I definitely understand you getting confused there. I know that feeling when you just see a name and you're trying to talk about someone else and you just got that name in your head and you just say it out loud even though you don't want to.
Yeah, it's so easy to do. But it's a strange race, this one. It's going to be intriguing because I think we've got so many different strategies at play here, and it's really going to be a case to see
that's Matt
on
once
the right
again.
strategy. It's Matt.
And he retired.
Retired, so we're down to 11 drivers now. Although obviously technically 10 because Scholes is also no longer in the race. So it's got so many different strategies. So we've got Puma looking like he's going to make a move on Gavin, and this time will Gavin have any defense to stop? Puma behind him. Puma, oh no, not quite. So Puma couldn't get alongside. I think there, the big help for Gavin was his teammate Ghost in front of him, giving him the DRS.
He can't get too close though, otherwise he will have to overtake him basically. And look at Houseman in the background. He's going for a move down the inside on Puma. That's a bit surprising. I've just switched onto Kev, which is not planned. And Houseman was not able to get the position. But Houseman kind of came out of nowhere there. And I gotta say, Ghost makes Puma's life a bit harder than it should be, trying to get past his teammate in that situation, as he's given Gavin a lot of slipstream and DRS with that.
Absolutely, but Ghost hasn't pulled away. Maybe the rate I thought he would once he was let through by his teammate. He's kind of just stuck there, maybe I don't know if he's trying to help his teammate, but of course, we talked about Gavin not taking his teammate's title challenge seriously. Maybe Ghost as well. Maybe he's trying to do a job for the team and he's also not prioritising his own battle at the moment. But either way, the Williams are working in formation at the moment, and thanks to Nino putting the undercut on Kev, he's actually jumped him at the pit stop, so that was a crucial move for Nino, and he's now up to provisionally P2, I would say.
And remember, Lewis has already picked up a penalty, and Lewis is known for picking up penalties very easily. So that might be a factor towards the end of this race. So Nino will try and stay with him, but Currently the gap is around 2.6 seconds, and Lewis has just put in the fastest lap of this race and has shown some incredible pace here today.
Yeah, he's looking very strong at the moment, it has to be said, and obviously now he hasn't got the buffer with Kev behind him, but Nino doesn't look like he's got much of an answer at the moment either. In fact, if anything, Kev's coming back at Nino a little bit in the early stages of his second stint for these drivers. What's going to be interesting now is what the top four do. Obviously, you've got the two hard tyre runners, but then you've also got Cortez and Miku out front. Obviously, Miku hasn't pitted yet, so he may still be going for a one-stop strategy.
Nino picks up a pen.
Yeah, it could be very crucial come the end of this race that he's maybe feeling the pressure of Kev behind him. And I don't know, when you're under pressure from somebody who's not involved in a title fight, maybe you're a little bit more fearful because in your mind you think they've got less to lose. You know, they could afford to send one at the inside and not worry so much about the consequences, although there is a steward's office, of course.
That is true, because they don't really fight for a position in the championship. They don't need every single point, probably. But if you're in the championship fight, every single point is crucial. And in a fight, you might just think about that point. You might just think, you know, I'd rather pick up 2 less points instead of 0 by crashing out. So that might be a thing going through Nino's head at the moment. But yeah, it's not a nice feeling having someone behind you catching up who's not in the same fight as you in terms of the championship standings and points.
And I think Lewis is about to encounter a huge issue here, and that issue is what I'm going to call the Williams train, which he is right on the back of now. And he's going to need to make his way through this quickly, and he's already going down the inside of Hausman into the hairpin. Lewis is not messing around, he wants to get past these cars as quickly as possible.
That was fully committed. Nice move there by Lewis. Just full on send it down the inside, locked up as well for good measure, but that was a nice move, and fair play to Hausman, who left him in the room on the inside, didn't turn in, and Hausman slightly outbraked himself, went a bit wide then, and lost a bit of time through that. And like you said, Lewis is not playing around today. He cannot afford to lose any more time, and Kev has just set the fastest lap of the race, proving his point that he has got the pace today.
And he's right behind Nino as well. He's looking like he wants to get that place back, so you know, maybe we underestimated Kev slightly here, because he's looking like this is a track where he's really got to grips with, and he's looking strong right now, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Lewis is now trying to go up the inside of Puma. Is he going to make... That's going to be another brave move, but this time he opts against it. A bit more of a tricky move to make a move there compared to the hairpin.
Let's see if he can maybe go down the inside into the hairpin now. He breaks a bit later, and it seems like Puma outbraked himself, and they leave each other the room they need. That's some good racing right here. And now Lewis will encounter the difficulty of passing that Williams of Gavin, because he's getting that slipstream, he's getting that DRS from his teammate, and he's having that amazing straight line speed with that. But maybe now, if Lewis uses all of his ERS, which he is doing right now, he can go for a move down the inside into turn 1. He will try it, he goes for it, he gets the room from Gavin. That's some fair racing, and he locks up into turn 2, but he's got the outside line, he's got the better tyres, he's got the traction, and he's got the position as well. Good move from Lewis, and up into P3 he goes.
Decisive driving from Lewis. This is what, if you want to win this race, that's what you've got to do. And Lewis right now is really impressive, as Nino has joined the back of his train now and is going down the inside of Hausman and pulls it off. And Kev, I think, is about to follow him through. Yep, so Kev passed Hausman as well. They're all coming across these cars now, and I have to say Lewis is getting through them expertly right now.
Yeah, Lewis just showing some winner mentality right here, and he want to have these Williams guys out for another few laps, and they are going to stay out because they're on the hards, obviously, and he needs to pass them because they might not make another pit stop. And there goes Lewis then. Looks like an easy move against Ghosts, more or less, and Ghost does not really fight it, and he gets the move done. And Puma and Nino are fighting, and there was some contact in between them, and Nino has picked up some damage.
Oh, disaster for Nino. Absolute disaster. It just shows when you've got so many cars close together, things like that can happen, and that's going to be really costly for Nino. Surely now he's going to have no defense against Kev at all, and will he have to pit because of that damage too?
Probably. It seems like his entire left end plate is missing, and that is draining a lot of downforce on that car. He's gonna have a lot of understeer now. I don't think he can stay out with that amount of damage. And you can see his lines, but he's not losing too much time to Gavin, if I'm honest. So maybe Gavin is struggling a little bit as well.
That's very bizarre. What's just happened there? I'm very surprised that Miku is only just out of the pits ahead of Hausman. My only assumption could be I didn't actually see Miku's pit stop, but of course he was a long way up the road from him before. So my only assumption can be is Miku maybe needed a front wing change when he pitted.
Maybe. I mean, it's easy to pick up some front wing damage. And gotta say, fair play to Nino, even though he's got massive amounts of front wing damage. He's trying to pass. He's not trying, I'm sorry. He is passing the Williams of Gavin quite easily. Obviously, he didn't have the DRS this time, Gavin. But now Kev has to make the move on Gavin as well. And into turn one, he tries to do it down the inside end. And does he leave him the room? Yes, he does. And Gavin does not give up that easily. Gavin still on the inside, then through turn two as they go side by side, coming up towards turn three. And now the move is done by Kev. Good move there. And Gavin shows some fighting spirit here today. Good to see.
Yeah, we're gonna have to see. We're gonna see how it pans out. Of course, we're only at half distance, but I don't know the way it's looking right now. I don't think those hard tyres are doing much for the Williams pair right now. They look desperately short of outright pace.
Maybe in terms of strategy, maybe they can take them till the end. Who knows? I mean, we had a crazy strategy by Hausman, I think it was, in Japan, where he took the hards from lap 1 onwards, or lap 2, and got a podium in the end. So maybe something similar could happen today to the Williams drivers. A very risky strategy, but I gotta say, fair play to Nino. His pace is still solid, but there goes Kev, and I think that is inevitable now with his front wing damage. Or is it? Nino's fighting it, and Kev backs out. Good decision, and good defending from Nino.
I genuinely believe they were about to go 3 wide there into that corner. That was never going to work. Thankfully, I think they all turned their sensible heads on there as they broke for the corner and realised that was not a good idea. So they all stay in formation for now, but that was all mightily close. And I have to say, Gavin sort of dropped off the back of these three, so yeah, Gavin just struggling for pace around here at the moment. To say he's the championship leader, you'd struggle to believe that based on the pace he's shown so far.
Kev picks up a penalty, that could be crucial towards the end, but smart tactics there by Nino to make himself catch up to the Williams right at the end of the straight. So if Kev would have gone for the move, he might have crashed into that Williams. And let's see, maybe Kev goes for a move down the inside into there, but now he's having a little look. Nino breaks himself, nearly hits the rear of Ghost. That was oh so close in between the front wing of that Racing Point and the rear wing of that Williams. And let's see, maybe Nino can pass Ghost this time. He's got his ERS deployed. He's going for a move down the inside into the final chicane, and he's going into the pits.
Slightly bizarre, but he waited until he passed the Williams to pit, if I'm being completely honest. I think it might have been better to do that a lap or two ago, but nevertheless, Kev has now got past Ghost, I believe. Yep, round the outside through the first few corners, and Kev up now to third place. And I wonder where Cortez is going to fit into this scenario, because he's just going about his business quite nicely at the moment on those medium tyres. And if he works out the strategy well, he could be a threat later on.
Well, he only has to make one more pit stop if he switches onto the hards, but maybe he'll try and even go for the medium soft strategy, which I really doubt, because the softs really don't last long at all. As in
Hausman and Larkin
we've got fight
side by side. Oh, and that's super close. Fair play. They're giving each other just enough room. But it looks like Hausman... I don't actually know if Hausman... I think Larkin was ahead beforehand, so Hausman's made the move up into 7th place. And that was, I've got to say, that was as much space as they could give each other, but no more.
That was an odd place to go side by side, if I'm honest. I didn't see many cars fighting through there, but fair enough. They've kept it clean. And in general, the racing here today is very, very exciting. It's very entertaining. And Lewis is closing slowly but surely, chopping down that gap to his Mercedes teammate. And it's going to be down to less than a second in just a few couple of seconds. Yes, it is down to 8 tenths now even. and it's going to be even less than 8 tenths by the end of this straight, probably because he's got the DRS even before the start of the straight.
Now, I've been proven wrong on many occasions, but based on the fact that they're on very different strategies and they're in the same team, I can't imagine Cortez is going to make this overly difficult on Lewis here.
It wouldn't make much sense for him, would it? Because he is on an entire different strategy. He's got way older tyres, and I think Lewis just is the quickest car out on track here today. But let's see if Cortez actually fights it. Nope, he doesn't.
No need for him to, and it doesn't really help Cortez's race either, really, by fighting it. He only loses himself time as well, so it's best thing for all of them. And does Kev, saw in the background, had a massive slide out the final corner, and I have to say, fair play for keeping out the wall, because I thought he'd lost that then.
That reminded me of Fernando Alonso in 2012 in Sao Paulo out of turn 3. It was they had a huge snap of oversteer, and that was a brilliant save from the Ferrari driver. Such good car control then, and it's a bit of a miracle that he kept that one out the wall. But fair play to him. That was a really good save there.
Absolutely. I'm just having a look at Gavin just briefly. I'm trying to get a glimpse of his front wing to see if he's got any damage, because Ghost has pulled away from him massively, and it would lead me to believe that there's some minor damage on his car or something, because it's, I don't know, he's just a bit lacking for it at the moment on the hard tyres, maybe not enjoying them, but yeah, right now Gavin, he's in 5th place, but if somebody, I wouldn't say Miku and Hausman would have to stop again. They could maybe get to the end from here, so they could close him down by the end, but nevertheless Williams have gone with this hard tyre strategy, and they've almost got to stick with it now and see what it does for them, but I can't see them winning the race, if I'm being honest.
No, not really, especially due to the fact that Lewis is putting away more and more, even though he has to make another pit stop because he surely can't take those tyres to the end. He will probably get them on outright pace in the end after his pit stop. But we've got a huge train forming up from P6 onwards down to P10. And yeah, that's quite a big train, and that's a lovely camera angle on that one. Nino with a fastest lap then, and yeah, Nino has to pass them as quickly as he can, and it looks like, yeah, Puma's got some front wing damage, same as Nino had, and Nino's going for it into turn 3 down the inside then, and yes, he gets the move done. Oh, what does he know? He gets hit, and that is Nino's race over through turn 4. I think there was a touch in between the McLaren and the Racing Point driver there. And I think that touch has sent him into the wall. And that is incredibly disappointing after such a strong row of results for Nino. That is race over for him. And I think there was contact.
Is Cortez going to use this virtual safety car to pit? No, he's not, because his teammate is. So
that's a bit unfortunate then.
Looking at the way Cortez turned into the last chicane, I think he was ready to pit, because he almost turned in as a sort of a afterthought. So I think he was planning to stop, but Lewis has sort of thrown that strategy out the window, and this works perfectly for Lewis. He can take fresh mediums to the end now, and where's he going to come out? He's going to come out around where the Williams is. Is he going to come out just in between them? Yes, he is.
Yes, he is.
That's perfect for Lewis. Really, it's in his hands now to win this race, I believe.
If I'm honest, I have got not a clue why Kev decided to stay out. Not a clue.
Yeah, he had a free pit stop in effect there. I don't know why he didn't choose to take it. But yeah, coming back to Nino and Puma, I was on board with Puma actually when it happened, and not from my angle anyway. It didn't look like there was any contact. If it was, we're talking really minimal contact. But it was very. I can't imagine Nino would have lost it otherwise. So there must have been some sort of contact. But if so, it was very, very light. I don't want to say that before obviously it goes to the stewards or anything, but I'd say very harsh on Puma if he does get the blame for that, because it seems like one of those crashes where really it was just really unfortunate.
Well, the slightest of contact can spin the car around if you are in the middle of a corner, which Nino was, so it certainly looked like there was a bit of contact which sent him round, because it looked like a very sudden snap of oversteer, and that could be down to a touch. And Lewis picked up another time penalty, so Lewis is probably thinking about that as well. that he needs to get a certain gap to P2 in the end. But I'm pretty sure he will get that, as P1 and P2 still have to pit, so his teammate and Kev. And then obviously we've got Ghosts right in front of him. And I'm pretty sure now that Ghost will take those tires to the end. But look at Lewis, he's going to pass him. Is he going to pass him now? Yes, he is. And Ghost is basically letting him through because Ghost knows that his championship is a bit more important than holding off someone who was going to pass him anyway at some stage in this race.
I don't know if Lewis will thank me for saying this, but with the amount of moves he's done at the hairpin, I might have to call him Kobayashi. he's been pulling this off superbly. He's Cortez pits, and well, he's done 20 laps on those medium tyres now, so he can go on to softs till the end, and this is working out quite beautifully for Cortez here, with Mercedes here looking at a huge hole of points.
Yeah, but that time penalty might be a bit annoying for him then, which he just picked up, and but I think time penalties will generally shake up the order a little bit. As we've got in the background, we've got Houseman going down the inside of Miku. I just saw a glimpse of that in the corner of my eye while I was looking at Cortez coming out the pits. That was a great camera angle I've got on that, and that was a solid move from Houseman. And a big thank you to Scholz in the chat, who's just said, can I just say, you two guys doing commentary is really sick and really good. Thank you. We love to hear that. We love to hear good feedback. And yeah, that's what we are here for, to entertain the people who are watching the stream.
Absolutely. It's quite strange, actually, how often we've seen things happening in the background of something else we're watching.
It really is.
We had it with Kev earlier.
I mean, or Matt, like I was just looking at the rear wing of, don't know who, I can't remember who it was, the car ahead definitely, I think it was Gavin, and then I just saw Matt losing it and spinning round, and then I saw that huge crash just because I was looking at the rear wing of Gavin because it looked quite nice through the final chicane, and then suddenly there was a crash. So it seems like we've got a bit of luck today with the choices of cameras, and Cortez picks up another time penalty. And is Kev going to come out ahead of this train? Yes, he is. That was really important.
But you absolutely nailed what you said earlier. I mean, Lewis was only, I think it's about 4 seconds ahead of Kev. Because Kev didn't pit under the virtual safety car, he's now 15 seconds behind. Sure, he's got the soft tyres, but I think that was the wrong call. He should have pitted under the VSC.
And look at Cortez. He's got to climb up to the podium. Big positions as they slightly make contact before the chicane, and around the outside here is really tricky, but Cortez makes it stick, and Gavin has to lose another spot, has to give ways for that Mercedes driver who's on fresh softs. And yeah, that's why Cortez didn't pit. I mean, the double stack probably would have lost him a bit less time than the regular pit stop under green flag racing, but that makes it all makes sense now due to the fact that he's on the softs. Maybe, just maybe, he can get the gap to Ghost as well. We've got 8 laps to go in this race, 9 laps actually. And yeah, he needs a good gap because I saw some penalties popping up for him. And maybe with those soft tyres, that is going to be possible.
And I've got the estimated hard tyre life as down as 24 laps. So those hard tyres are going to feel very second-handed later on in this race. So the Williams drivers are not out of the woods yet in regards to that. And oh, we've got yellow flag in sector 1. That's
Scholz.
Scholz. I don't know why his ghost car's got that, but anyway.
No, he's rejoined. Oh, and he's just
rejoined.
hit the wall another time. And that is Kev flying past Gavin as well. So Gavin, within 2 laps, has lost 2 positions. But P5 is not too bad, but he'll have to watch out for Houseman behind, who's catching massively with every single lap. So that's going to be a big struggle, and it looks like Lewis in P1 is doing everything he needs to do right now. And he's got a comfortable lead over Ghost in P2, and I'm pretty sure he's not really banging out those lap times. But I could imagine Lewis going for the fastest lap towards the end of the race, like doing a real-life Mercedes.
Definitely. I'm just going to have a quick comparison here to see what the drivers are doing. So, Ghost's last lap was a 1:12.9. Cortez's last lap a 1:11.0. At that pace, it's going to be a done deal for Cortez. Obviously, not taking penalties into account. Although, as I say, that Ghost himself has just picked up one. That's great timing. But yeah, at that pace, Ghost is going to have no answer to Cortez.
Not really. I mean, Ghost is basically a sitting duck right now on his 24 lap old hards, and those tyres won't get any better in this race. So he will just basically have to do what he can and hope for the best. And also Kev is catching up to Cortez. So let's see, maybe Kev can get past Cortez at some point as well. They're both on the same tyres, but Kev has got 1 lap fresher tyres. So maybe, just maybe, without putting penalties into account, obviously, Kev will be able to pass Cortez on track.
Yeah, it's going to be for Ghost and Gavin. It was worth the risk to go on hard tyres. Obviously, neither of them felt overly comfortable around here, and they're going to probably get a decent haul of points out of it, assuming they keep the tyres going. But nevertheless, it's not the points that they'd have been hoping for, particularly for Ghost, who I feel like needed to be really high up here today. And another person to look out for here is Larkin, because he's been on those mediums 22 laps now. They must be feeling very second-hand.
I'm not really sure if those tyres will even last to the end. Could risk a puncture, as yeah, I've just seen some messages we don't want to see in the Discord chat from Nino. Understandably, in the heat of the moment, though, obviously you are frustrated. But I just wanted to check for Kev. He has not scored a single point within the last 4 races, and 1.5 points before that. And right now he's on course for a really strong result and maybe even a podium. So I'd be very happy for him if he could finish on the podium here today.
Definitely, it would be a big reward for his persistence. You know, it's been a frustrating season for him. Probably not a season he would have hoped for, but this is going to be his reward for all his hard work. And just look at the time Ghost is losing. I'm actually having a look at Larkin here because I just want to see what his pace is like now on these on his really old medium tyres. He's down in the high 13s. Oh, that's really slow.
But he lost 3 seconds to Miku last lap. To Hausman, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I've got to be honest. I'll be shocked if those tyres don't puncture. I think he's already over the limit as it is.
Well, 23 laps on mediums around this track. That's quite a lot. As Puma has to pit once more. That's not good to see. And we can see Kev is so on the limit. Slightly track extended here and there. Probably picking up warnings at some stages, at some corners around here. And Cortez is also catching massively to Ghost, and he's going to be within that DRS window on the next lap. But I think he needs quite a big gap to actually keep that second spot if he gets past Ghost.
It genuinely wouldn't surprise me if McLaren came out there for Larkin and then they saw Puma and like, wait a minute, that's the wrong car. So, but nevertheless, Larkin's, fair play to him, he's sticking with it, but he's got no pace now and he's going to be a sitting duck if anyone gets near him, because he just won't have a traction to battle. But and speaking of that, Cortez is now, well, I think he's going to have this move done probably by the end of this lap, and Kev's not far behind either. So, meanwhile, Lewis has now built up a 15-second lead out front almost. He's, no matter what his penalty situation is, I think he's got this one pretty much in the bag now. You mentioned that he has a tendency to bottle it. Well, I've got to say, if he throws this one away, I'd almost back you up on that.
then yeah, I'll have to speak some serious words with Lewis, but we don't want to jinx it. So, Lewis, if you are hearing us, just bring it home, mate. You can lose 3 seconds a lap from now on and still win. So just bring it home, and we can see Cortez is also close to the rear of that Williams ahead, and he is going to pass him now on this straight, I'm sure. He's barely got any ERS though, and Ghost is trying to defend, even though he's got 27 lap old hards. Cortez has to go for the outside into the chicane. That's going to be tight, but they keep it clean, it looks like. And now Cortez is going to have that DRS, but Ghost is going to have some more ERS than Cortez, but he can't fight back, and that's P3 then, P2 sorry, for Cortez, and could be a Mercedes 1-2 here.
Absolutely, they've done a great job between them, I have to say, and I keep looking at Larkin because I'm just amazed that he's still going out around the track, to be honest. It's quite incredible what we're seeing here, but it looks like Kev should be able to make the move stick on Ghost very shortly. He has picked up another penalty, but we'll see how that affects things at the end. And here he goes around the outside. Oh, Ghost is desperately trying to fight it off, and Kev obviously doesn't be aggressive with it. He probably realises that, you know, he will get Williams eventually. There's no need to risk anything.
But maybe he's just trying to stretch it a little bit. Maybe he'll try to cost Kev a bit more time than he would if he just let him go, to maybe get him on pens in the end. So that might actually be a smart thing, but he's going to be a sitting duck from now on. And Kev moves to the inside very, very late, but he needs that inside line for the final chicane, and he gets the move done. Nice one there from Kev, as I saw Cortez made a big mistake there out of the final chicane, which cost him quite a lot of time. Look at that. It's nearly come down to less than a second now.
Wow, that's Cortez. Maybe I think Cortez and Kev are two drivers that maybe slightly surprised they're in the position that they're in, really. Obviously, you mentioned Kev hasn't scored many points. Cortez himself has got a win to his name, but other than that, his best result was 5th. So this is quite an unusual position he finds himself in here. And how is he going to cope with the pressure now that he sees Kev behind him on relatively similarly aged soft tyres? It's going to be a real battle to the end here. But as for Lewis, he can just pop it in 4th gear now and cruise it home.
And I just want to mention it has been getting quite overcast here. So maybe Codemasters will just throw some rain in here on the final lap of this race, or the final 2 laps of this race. But who knows, but look at the amount of ERS that Kev has got. I don't think it's going to be too much of a struggle to get past Cortez. Cortez is barely having any ERS left. His battery's dead.
Oh, is Hausman and Larkin?
Ooh, as Cortez loses the rear end. And that gives Kev the chance now to get into P2 on the penultimate lap of this race. And yes, into turn 1 he goes round the outside. Nice move there by the Ferrari driver. And that is P2 then for him.
Yeah, Hausman made his way past Larkin as well. Larkin has just got nothing left, really. Miku's going to be past him, I don't think, for too long. And I wonder if, this is a theory I'll put forward to you then, maybe there was a bit of rain forecast for the end of a race, and drivers like Ghost, Gavin and Larkin were sort of counting on it.
It could actually be a good point. But I would say Ghost and Gavin have not made a bad strategy with that one. I mean, they're still P4 and P5, and they didn't look like they had the best pace so far. And look at Miku down the inside. He goes very odd place to go for a move, but he makes it stick anyway with a bit of wheel banging. That is alright. No damage done for none of the cars, and he is up to 7th now.
And I have to say, obviously, Gavin does outscore Miku. He does outscore... Well, he doesn't outscore Ghost, but he's not been...
Oh, Lewis, please. Just calm down a little bit. Calm down. Final lap. You don't need that fastest lap. That was... Oh, I just had a little heart attack there. He lost the rear end completely out of turn 2, as I just wanted to give him some screen time. And there is rain. Look at that.
Wow. That's come a few laps too late, I think, for Larkin and a few others. But it's nevertheless, we've got... Well, Larkin picked up a penalty, but yeah, just bring it home, Lewis. Now you've got no reason to push whatsoever. This will put him. No, and I don't think he'd be able to get it anyway. There's so many drivers out on fresh soft tyres now. I just don't think he'd have that pace in him on those slightly older mediums. But nevertheless, it's been a great drive from him, and this puts him right into the championship battle with 2 races to go.
I've got yellows, and that's Kev. Kev has spun round.
I don't believe it. I do not believe it.
As Lewis comes across the line then, that is a huge shock for Kev. Then Lewis takes his 2nd win of the season. What a drive from the Mercedes driver. Picks up 16 deserved points then. And that was brilliant from Lewis. Very controlled. Apart from that turn 2 on the last lap. And Cortez, very surprisingly then on the final lap, takes P2.
Oh, look how much we're struggling with the rain.
Yeah,
I think we need to keep an eye out here, because there could be some more
it's Kev
issues.
Once again. No, it's not. Oh, who is that? That is... and Cortez drops down. It's Scholes, and Cortez loses P2. He loses P2 because of that last corner.
He loses it out of the final corner. They're all struggling. As the rain comes down, Gavin takes 5th, Hausman 6th.
It's really pouring down. It's into conditions now on the final lap. Miku brings it over the line. So does Larkin. And Schultz after spinning round. And spinning round once again. So, Ah, so unfortunate for Kev. So unfortunate for Kev. I can't believe it. Final lap.
He's
Ah, man. I
and
feel
looking at his
so
pen
sorry for him.
and looking at his penalty situation as well, he would have been good for second place with Cortez dropping down. So, Kev's thrown away a massive opportunity there, and as a result, Ghost gets second on those hard tyres. I don't think he'll quite believe what's happened.
Well, luck has definitely been on his side. Lady Luck has been with him today. And there is Lewis, for me, driver of the day, with a very, very dominant win. I was a bit scared. I was so scared around turn two there. I just switched onto his camera, and suddenly his rears all over the place. And that rain in the end really spiced up the podium. I mean, it would have been Cortez P2. It would have been Kev P2, Cortez P3, but now it's Ghost P2 and Cortez P3 as he picked up a penalty in the final chicane on the final lap, which cost him P2 in the end. But still a good drive from him from sixth on the grid. Ghost, quite a nice job as well. And that rain could have come a bit earlier for Larkin, I'd say, but in the end, it's Kev taking P4. Still a really good result, but so unfortunate for him. Should have been a second place, but spins on the final lap, and yeah, only takes fourth. And then Gavin in P5, some damage limitation, keeps his position with a one stop as well. Houseman finishes P6 from 10th on the grid. Pretty good drive from him as well. Miku picks up 7th in the end. Larkin drops down to 8th after starting 4th with such old tyres. Probably got caught out by the rain not coming down as early as the drivers probably expected. And Puma picks up 9th, and Schultz is finishing in 10th and picks up one single point and the final point of today. And then we've got Nino, Matt, and Leon all have retired. But I'd call it quite an exciting race.
Yeah, and just to put it into some context, I had a quick look at everyone's last lap times just to see how much the conditions affected them. Most drivers are about 7 or 8 seconds slower on that final lap than all the others. That just shows how much the rain came down right at the end.
Yeah, that reminded me a bit of lap one in Portugal where the rain came down um, and suddenly everyone was struggling and all over the place. And yeah, now with that awful, awful, awful new update with the parties, I have to find out how to invite those guys to a party now. I don't know how to do it. Ah, wait, I do know how to do it. So I can add players here, hopefully. I am I'm still getting used to that system, and I really don't like it. I think it's awful. And so we need not Gavin. We need Ghosts, who's here. We don't need. Yes, where do I find Lewis? Please appear as online. Of course you don't. What letter does Cortez game attack start with? Yeah, the chat, the viewers sadly can't hear you right now. It's APG. Alright, let's try and find him here. Oh, I don't have him on my friends list, which is so annoying. But I can try and find Lewis first. Ah, that is so annoying. Where's Lewis? Can't find Lewis. Am I blind? I think I might be. Was he appearing online? I'm so sorry for the viewers right now because they literally can't see anything. They can't hear you. There's Lewis. Finally. There he is. And then I quickly need to add. How do I add Cortez now? Can you just go letter by letter with Cortez's name? Alright. Alright then. It is APG underscore. Yeah, TTP, alright. There we go. There we have him. Alright, good to see. We've got Ghost already joining our interviews, which is good to see. I'm not sure if Lewis will join. I'm not sure if Cortez will join. Just
Really.
I'm just gonna give it a couple more seconds, not minutes, because we don't want to wait that long. Lewis is still in the lobby, so hopes are high that he's gonna join the party. I have invited him. He has been added to the chat, but maybe those guys are a bit confused with the new party system as well. Who knows?
And this new party system was not made with this in mind.
It
There we
was
go.
it was
Lewis is here.
not it was not made with anything in mind, I think. I mean, what was wrong with the first party system? Don't get it. But all right then, I think we can start the interviews then with our race winner, Lewis. First of all, congratulations on your race win today. Pretty dominant, but let's start off with your qualifying, um, where the typical Lewis came out a little bit. The bottle Lewis, great first lap, great banker, got your pole in the end. But on your second run, even though you've already invalidated, you've crashed. What happened?
I was like a couple tenths off on my lap, but I've hit the curb and just spun. So I wasn't actually expecting to get pole, but I did, so I just went with it.
Yeah, your
And
pace
that's
was
basically it.
yeah, your pace was very, very good and very strong all the way through the entire weekend. And obviously, at the start, it looked like Kev had a slightly better start than you, and he was slightly ahead of you coming down into turn one. But how crucial did you know was it for you to stay ahead of Kev in that situation?
I really wanted to just stay ahead. I went late on brakes, kept the position. I knew my starts weren't very good, so I knew I was going to be side by side into turn one, so just really wanted the inside line anyway. And then kept it from there in the lead after turn one. And then the safety car happened. Nearly ruined my strategy, but I didn't know what to do. I just went with it.
I think you stayed out as one of the few guys who actually did, who started on softs. Only three guys did it. You, Nino, and Kev in the end. But with the rain coming in at the end, was it forecasted? And were you thinking about that when you decided to go for that strategy? You went for a pretty standard, pretty normal strategy, I call it, soft, medium, medium in the end. It obviously worked out, but was the rain part of your strategy?
Nah, I didn't think the rain would come, so I didn't really take it into account. It did come in the last lap, so probably quite lucky, but I had a gap anyway if the rain was to come. And I was a bit luckier with the SC because it gave me an even bigger advantage, because I was going to go on softs, but with that I just went on to mediums with a nice undercut.
Yeah, well, we obviously need to talk about your moves you've put up today. With your strategy, you had to do a lot of overtaking, but you just made it look so easy. I mean, so committed. And Jake already said on stream that with the amount of moves you made into the hairpin, we might have to call you Kobayashi at some point. So, how do you make those moves so easily on so many good and quick drivers out there?
Well, I saw I was catching like quite a lot, so I was mainly looking to, since there were a train of cars, I was looking just to get past before the long straight, so that I could just slot in afterwards. So I kept looking for moves down at the hairpin and then just getting past them. If I got past someone down the straight, that's a bonus as well then.
It certainly worked out. And yeah, when you got into the lead, you easily build up that gap. And in the end, it looked like a pretty easy victory in terms of pace for you. And the gap was huge in the end. But then I went on board with you, or I
Oh, the last
looked
lap.
at you the last lap, and I
Ah,
was really
yes.
scared. Can you just tell me what happened out of turn two?
Nearly went into the wall. That's a natural thing I normally like to do, and I luckily saved it.
Well, I
Massive
I was so glad
moment.
you didn't put it into the wall. Certainly Kev did on the final lap, and just two more questions, and on that final lap, how tricky was it with the conditions? Because in the end, it looked like it was really pouring down and basically into
Uh,
conditions by the end of the race.
it got bad around about the last sector, but that's basically just too straight. So I just took it nice and carefully through the chicane, just to avoid not losing my wheel and then just bottling it. But yeah, the rain wasn't that bad to be honest.
All right, and then obviously the final question is about next week when we are heading to USA with your momentum now on your side with the race win, with the 16 points in your bag, and being still in the championship fight more or less, I'd say. Um, what are you expecting for next week then?
Well, USA is one of my strong tracks, so if I put a bit of practice in, could get a top three, and then I think I'm only 11 points behind Gavin now, or something like that. Maybe a bit less, so I could go for the championship still.
All right then, huge congratulations on your win today, and good luck for next week in USA.
Thank you.
And Jake, if you wanna take our second place driver then.
Yep, so Ghost, congratulations on second place. Just how surprised were you with how that last lap unfolded for you?
Very surprised, but at the same time, I had that gut feeling something would happen because the way they were fighting through the first sector was very, very like aggressive, as it being last lap, I was thinking, okay, something could happen. So I was just like, I wasn't really fighting them as much as I should have, but it kind of worked out in the end because they kind of hit. I don't know what happened, but I saw one of them was in the wall, so it worked out.
And obviously, you went with that very alternate strategy to run hard tyres for the majority of the race. Was it difficult to keep your cool with so many drivers passing you?
Um, Yes, I'd say that, but at the same time, I was thinking to myself, I was just trying to keep myself calm because I can get hot-headed when I'm driving at a track, especially where I haven't got much pace. And I think my main objective was just to stay cool and keep the car on track. So I wasn't really fighting too many guys. I knew that the hard tires would be better overall with people having the pit. So I was just hoping with all the people overtaking, it might cause them to get wing damage, which quite a few of them did in the end. So it kind of worked out.
And we saw yourself and your teammate Gavin go for that strategy. And of course, at one point as well, I believe you went past him and he didn't seem to put up much of a fight. Was there much communication between the pair of you?
Today, like every week, we're always in the party together, always giving each other tips and setups and things like that. We're quite good relationship on that site.
With you being very much now in a championship fight with him, is that going to change your relationship at all going into his last two races?
Um, yeah, but I think I think we both have this that I think we both have the same mindset of like if one's quicker than the other, then there's no point holding both of us up. If you know, like I wasn't at the start, I wasn't thinking I would be anywhere near him, so I was just trying to say I wasn't gonna fight him. If he was actually, because he had wing damage for like most of that race, so I think if he didn't have wing damage, he probably would have been quicker than me. But I think that's the reason I kind of pulled away from him.
And of course, you encountered a lot more of the wet conditions on the last lap than Lewis did, obviously being about 25 seconds behind him in the end. How tricky was it with those worn hard tyres on that final lap?
It was very hard. I think the rear left got to like 82%, so it was like Bahrain, but worse because it was wet. So yeah, the last chicane I literally took at like 40% speed just to keep the car on the track, and I still had the moment coming out of the last corner.
And of course, now you're very much in championship contention. What's your mindset going into Austin next week?
Onwards and upwards, I guess. Just keep it. I don't think I've got the pace of Lewis. I've just got to try and be as consistent as possible to keep that gap closing as small as possible. I don't know if he's ahead of me or what, but yeah, I'll see whatever happens. Whatever happens.
And as well, just lastly, in the Constructors' Championship, looking very good for Williams now. Mercedes maybe putting up a late charge, but do you think you've got it in the bag?
I think because I think the most us two at these last tracks I feel like we're quite strong. I think we've got quite good pace at these last few tracks, so yeah, we should be able to hold it off hopefully, unless things go wrong.
And I suppose, well, I might as well ask as well, just finally. I don't know if you've seen the season 27 calendar, but if you have, what do you make of it?
I mean, of course, there's tracks that I don't like, but overall, I quite like it. I quite like the overall season. I like USA, and I think USA's in it, but yeah, I like the most of the tracks.
No worries at all. Congratulations on second place.
Thank you.
All right then. I think that is it for this week's race. We had another very, very entertaining one here in Canada. Once again, F5 has not disappointed, and we are going to be back with round 13 then next week, where we head to the Circuit of the Americas in the USA in Austin. And yeah, Jake, as always, thank you very much for joining me.
Not a problem. It's a pleasure as always.
And yeah, with that being said, I hope to see you guys next week once again, 7 p.m. UK time on Mondays. Make sure to check out the other divisions as well. F1 is live right now. And with that being said, goodbye and take care.